morality choices in games kinda suck. I know that's a bold statement and at least a bit of a hot take, but there are very few games that have a morality system that feels earned. Obviously, there are some, but really, all I can think of off the top of my head is the first Fable game. The other two, I never really liked their morality choices that felt even more tacked on than the first one. You got Dishonored has some good ones, and then you have the Mass Effect series, of course. As that has become the staple of this, with most games using a Paragon Renegade-like naming system that Mass Effect coined. Either way, I think there's one series that really captivates the high highs and low lows of the morality system. It makes you feel like this righteous paragon, but also lets you feel like Satan, I guess? He's like the most evil guy I can think of, at least. That series is none other than Infamous. It's a PlayStation exclusive superhero series that came out back on the PS3. It was made by Sucker Punch. You might know these guys because of their other work with PlayStation exclusives like the Sly Cooper series, at least the first 3 games, and the Ghost of Tsushima series. Now, these first 2 games in this series that came out on the PS3 have some genuinely great examples of how to use, but in all honesty, very basic black and white morality system. How? By having the inspiration of this be drawn from a place where moral grays are very uncommon. Comic books, yeah. I know, big shocker, the superhero game is based on the thing where superheroes originate from. But these games lean into the comic angle so much that it makes these very objectively good and evil choices work far better than a more complex morality system honestly would have in this game. Now, since most games that work with a good morality system have your choices be good intentioned but in a good or bad way, making it less like you're a hero or a villain, and more so you're being a hero or you're being an anti-hero. Now, while Infamous does have some choices like that, as you go further into the game, your evil choices become less these personal quality of life choices that still admittedly do good for the people of the world. Like, you might be hurting 1 or 2 people or like a small group, but saving hundreds. But you're still hurting those people, thus making it somewhat of a bad choice. But by the end of this 2-game story, you're literally being a hero that saves every human on Earth at the heavy loss of the small yet strong conduit community, which are these superpowered beings. Or you become the Beast, a godlike being who has the power to basically evolve anyone with this gene into their strongest state with the conduit gene activated. But to do it, it kills all non-conduits and is causing a plague throughout the whole world as far as we are aware. Now, those games are legendary and some of my favorite from the PS3 era, but the series didn't stop there with that 2-game series. There's one more game that came out on the PlayStation 4 very early in its life cycle, and that's what we're covering here today. The name of this game in question is Infamous Second Son. So in this game we follow a guy named Delson trying to save his family while discovering his powers. Now, hearing that you probably think, holy shit, wow, they actually canonized the evil ending of Infamous 2 where powers still exist, conduits aren't dead. But no, they didn't. They did canonize the good ending of the previous series. And of course, just somehow, with no explanation, conduits returned and are now mutants from the X-Men series, but honestly less cool. Alright, that's enough lead up. Let's get into one of my favorite games from the entire PS4 generation. First thing I'll get to are 2 of the biggest gimmicks in the gameplay. The first one you literally use as you start the game, it is the motion control spray painting. Now, this does seem like a very cliche gimmick, which it totally is. Like, there's no way around it, it is a gimmick. But, as a kid, this was one of the coolest things they could have done. This cemented Infamous as something different, something new, something fresh in my head. And it instantly latched me onto it. I still have memories of seeing these other Let's Play YouTubers like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye playing this game and reacting to the spray painting. There wasn't anything like it, and there still really isn't, at least not very commonly.
Controller sideways? What? Are you serious? I have to do this shit? Oh my god, I get to spray!
Anyways, after defacing this billboard of a cop, you get caught and are trying to run away after meeting your kind of grandma named Betty. Betty is genuinely just the best person in this game. And when you go evil in this game, Delson is so rude to Betty that it fucking pisses me off. It makes part of this evil playthrough I did for the video genuinely hard to play through.
Delson Rowe, you hung up on me before.
Sorry, Betty, but
Don't tell me this is a
Yeah.
actually at the moment I'm kind of climbing up the outside of the Space Needle.
Well, if you don't want to talk to me, just say so.
Now, after getting caught, a truck crashes by you and your cop brother, and out pop some prisoners. You go over to help someone that was caught under the truck, and it turns out these prisoners are conduits, which in this world are now called bioterrorists. Anyway, your brother tries to get the superpowered prisoner to let you go by pointing a gun at him, which, when that shockingly doesn't work, Delson grabs the hand of this motherfucker that has literal smoke coming off his fingers. And we get to see the powers our main man Delson is rocking for this whole game. And that power is power absorption.
Look, Gwen, you have to treat a car like you treat a woman.
Go on.
No, I sense I've made a mistake of some kind.
Now, when I saw this as a kid, I went crazy. I'd already played the older Infamous games, and I had no clue what they were going to do with this one. Like, I had no idea how they were going to top lightning. Lightning's like the coolest fucking superpower. Who doesn't want to control lightning? Like, just look at Avatar. If you see lightning bending and don't immediately want to do it yourself, there's something wrong with you. Like, that should be a reason to make you go to an insane asylum. Anyway, I had no idea what they were going to do as a kid. I didn't have this non-stop access to the internet like I do now, so when this came out, I was completely blind. I didn't even see a trailer. I didn't know this existed until I saw a promo of it like a couple days before it came out at a GameStop. Anyway, after you absorb the powers and see the only remnants of the comic book style cutscenes of the first games are in these power memory absorption flashbacks, which is a huge missed opportunity that I'll get into later as I cover more of this game. Anyway, so you chase after the smoke guy and run into Miss Bitch Karen herself. In this world, she goes by the name Augustine. I'm not gonna lie. They fucking killed it with her as the villain. You will hate her guts so much by the end of this game. And the shit she does is so horrible, so fucked, that even if you go full evil, your hatred for her will want you to get rid of this bitch, even though it's technically a heroic thing to do. Now, even at your worst, there's still a very strong argument that Augustine's way worse than you, for reasons we'll get into as I go through the story. So, after she introduces herself with a line that is so cold that you almost aren't even mad she's threatening to kill you and hurt your family.
I'll tell you again.
I'm told that hurts.
You have your first moral choice. You can either fess up to being a bioterrorist, or remain silent and make your family pay for your silence. Now, full disclosure right here, this is a fake choice. Its only purpose is to set you on the track between good and evil before the game fully starts. Yeah, that's right. I don't even know how far we're in, but we're still in the prologue of this game. God, I'm making this a bloated mess, but I love this game, so I'm going to keep talking about it anyways. So, I've already said this is an evil playthrough. You guys already know what we're picking. Now, this is one of the rare instances where I'm not mad at this illusion of choice, because they play it off right afterwards. Now that the whole tribe has enough concrete in them to make a basketball court, we see Betty And our choice changes this interaction between you and her, which you'll see now. When you go good, you get this loving and caring Delson, showing how distraught he is that his whole tribe is hurt because of him. Something he did caused everyone to be hospitalized, essentially. Now you go through the evil playthrough, where Delson uses the tribe's own saying to justify his actions, saying Akko must take care of our own, as a reason to get out of feeling any guilt around his whole family getting hurt because of him. While instead in the good playthrough, Biddy uses it to console him through his very obvious grief. It's not an excuse. It's how they live with what they have to do. Either way, after that, Delson and Reggie, who is your cop brother, as I mentioned earlier, head off towards Seattle. And holy shit, the city is beautiful. This game is a decade old and still holds up insanely well. Like, holy shit levels of well. Either way, after your arrival, you have only 2 goals for the rest of the story. Take down the DUP, Augustine's own personal army. All have some variation of her concrete abilities, and your second goal is to get more power from the other conduit to escape along with the smoke guy you saw Augustine kill earlier. So after climbing the Space Needle and kicking the DUP off of it, the story shifts its focus from being primarily about the DUP aspect of the story into learning more about the conduits. And we learn there's a laser shooting sniper picking out what the news is saying are just random civilians.
I think what we're
So
gonna
as
do
anyone
is
who
we're
wants to
gonna
get more power from a conduit, we go and try and find them. And this is where we learn that our laser sniper is just taking out drug dealers. And don't get me wrong, that's not an admission saying drug dealers' lives don't matter to me. That's saying, holy shit, Augustine is using her power to change the news into fear-mongering, calling people to be afraid of conduits. This is the first time we see that. The game doesn't tell you that's what's happening, but it's very obvious why this is going down, and anyone with a shred of media literacy should be able to put 2 and 2 together. And this is just the start of chipping away at all the shit Augustine does behind the scenes that we don't get first-hand views of. We're going to get our fucking laser powers. And aren't we lucky, right after we stop a drug deal, we see the sniper. Not only do we see him, they shoot at us. And of course we have to give chase. And that's when we learn the secondary set of powers this conduit has is fucking super speed.
One of you!
I mean,
one of us!
whoa, what?
So anyway, after our sniping dare member escapes, we go to investigate the sniper's hut where, well, I'll let Delson explain.
Well, one thing this place tells us is that our sniper is a sniperette.
Wait, what?
You should see this, Reg. It's like the girliest sniper's nest you've ever seen.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's just girled up. Girl stuff. Like the name Brent burned into the wall in girly handwriting. And it is definitely the best smelling assassin's den you could ever be.
Okay, but look, just send me photos of anything you think might help.
Anyway, after some truly questionable police work, we find out we're after one Abigail Walker, wanted for the murder of her own brother.
Can't help you there.
Now, we go to stake out a neon sign she's known to frequent, as it's the biggest one in town, and we have reason to believe that neon powers her abilities.
Me right.
Oh man, that smells
It's
good.
called Total War
Why didn't I
Warhammer
take some
3.
Cash off those dealers. Money, why do you hate me?
I think
Be
you'd
my
like
friend,
it, Chris.
baby. Come to
It's
me.
actually
Let's
pretty sick.
bond.
You know the game we used to have on our phones, where you would like summon the heroes at the tavern, and then you would like watch them fight. You know what I mean? It was like called Mini Heroes, I think, actually. You know what I mean?
Let's think of it.
Now, enter Fetch, a side character that was so likable, they made a whole other smaller game, akin to how Spider-Man Miles Morales is toward the first 2 Spider-Man games. Now, after we absorb Fetch's powers and beat her in an admittedly unique and fun boss, Our next big karmic choice arrived. Do we want to redeem Fetch and try and stop her more violent ways of dealing with these dealers? Or do we corrupt her and turn her aggression from the dealers toward those publicly protesting against conduits and show them who they're dealing with? Why shouldn't we make her into the monster Augustine is trying to make her out to be?
When it comes to conduits, it's my call. Not yours, not ours, mine.
Oh, really? So Mr. Freewheeling Badass finally wants to take on some responsibility. And for what, huh? A bioterrorist with a body count?
I love you, Reg. Don't make me break that handsome nose of yours.
Why? When she kills someone's father tomorrow, or mother the day after that, you're the one that allowed that to happen.
Now calm down.
Yeah. Let's talk.
Now here is where we witness probably this game's biggest double-edged sword. The way you view how karmic decisions should be made impact on how you view the system of this game. It's rather make or break. Now, the biggest morality choices you have here are typically with the other conduits. So, like here, you can choose whether to redeem the conduit or corrupt the conduit. Why is that a double-edged sword? That seems like a pretty safe choice. I don't know why that's such a controversial deal. Well, it normally wouldn't be, but with how they deal with it, it almost feels as if you're choosing if you want to characterize Fetch more and flesh out her character arc. Or do you want to show off Delson's change into a more evil, manipulative person? Now, why do I say that? Well, let's just use the evil path here as an explanation, and afterwards I'll explain the good path. So, on the evil path, the mission you get for Fetch after you choose to corrupt her has Delson slowly getting into her head to manipulate him. As she's finding the machines that give you more powers, so you can have your full neon kit in game. You just keep talking to her about how she needs to be using her powers for something better. You need to stop this at the source. You need to stop this evil. Where's the evil coming from? These fucking conduits parading around her face, trying to say she's a monster? You can't let that happen. They're literally hating on your people out in the middle of the street. Why shouldn't you shut them up? Why shouldn't your powers be used as a way to keep yourself safe? These guys need to be taken care of. Taken down.
Well, Fetch, I see you're expanding your horizons.
And so after you have all your powers, you and Fetch go on a quest to destroy different protests about the conduit issue.
Yeah, sure. Kinda like it though, didn't you?
Kill so many people.
Maybe after you finish your power hunt.
Almost an unforgiving amount. Not only do you do that, learn there's a protest that's being recorded, possibly even televised.
Hey, Delson. Fire
So
up
what
that
do you
camera.
do?
I got something for the viewers at home.
Well, Fetch, as a gift for Delson,
Please don't hurt me.
gets the camera ready,
Hello,
has
America?
the leader
My
on
name is
his knees
Abigail
on the
Walker, but
ground.
My friends and enemies call me Fetch. 2 things you should know about me. 1, I'm a Pisces. 2, I've never hurt an innocent person in my life. And that's still true. You may think I'm a monster, but it's not my fault. people who preach hatred of conduits leave us no choice. So who's really to blame here? Maybe you.
Oh.
You've now made Fetch into the monster she was supposed to be. You use your smooth words and want of power to corrupt a confused girl who's been out on her own since she was a young teen. She's lost everyone close to her. She's needing guidance. You guided her into becoming this. You are the monster here. There's no denying it. There's no defending this. It is unapologetically evil. Now, this game has some of the lowest lows of the morality choice, which we'll get into later. But even though I'm not a huge fan on how I have to give up some of Fetch's character arc for this choice, it is insane to me how well they not only play it being evil, but how they're so unabashed about it. It just, there's not any type of cute wordplay to poke around the bush, maybe try and censor anything about it. No, they just let you see what you're doing, and I honestly love it because, at least for me, it makes me feel so much guilt around the evil choices. Now we go to cross this bridge to get us on the other side of the island where we believe another conduit. And this is where we run into Augustine.
Hell yeah.
And even though we beat up the Dupe Patrol she sends our way, we're still captured, showing us that even with this new fancy neon power, we're no match for the Queen Bitch herself. But while we were being taken away, we're saved by what seems to be an angel. And we're dropped into the second half of the map, which is now completely opened up to us. And once we're here, we get a call from a random dude who just claims to be a tech-savvy fan.
That's suspicious.
That's weird. But despite the suspicions everyone who's watching this video or playing the game probably has, we use his info and it is spot on. As soon as the action starts, though, our friend Eugene is just nowhere to be seen. An angel swooped down, causing mass confusion, and with our radio silent friend, we have to use the software he gave us to listen in on DUP talks. And we have to try and find the prisoners to get this sweet angel summoning power. But whenever we get there, the angels are just one step ahead. So, out of ideas, Reggie ends up dressing up as a conduit prisoner, and we have an angel kidnap him so we can track down the dungeon where conduit with the insane power resides. Now, what we're about to talk about is the best boss battle in this game. It's not close. This is awesome. This is the highlight of my playthrough every time, just seeing what this boss battle is. I fucking love it. I can't get enough. I want to inject it into my veins, if I could. And so, we enter the dungeon after we save Reggie, and we see a basement with a bunch of computers. So we go to explore, and we do see a bunch of the conduit vests. But when we get too close to the computer, we get sucked into a giant dungeon with lava all over, and we have to fight this giant flying raid boss of a knight named He Who Dwells. Now, who is He Who Dwells, you might ask? Well, after beating him, we see, it's Eugene! The kid from the phone!
Oh no!
Now, his karmic choice deals with redeeming him and saving the prisoners from the DUP, which he was already doing. Or we murder these Russian gangsters who really fucking hate conduits. Now, this choice is easily the weakest decision you can make in the game. I like the fake choice better, if I'm being completely honest. Because that still changes something. Right? Like, there's a whole cutscene of difference. While this technically has a different mission, it just has, well, a worse mission and ends with the same cutscene with, like, a line of dialogue of difference. Because no matter what you do or what happens, Eugene no longer hides in his basement all day playing World of Warcraft. Now, we have all of our powers for the game, so it's time to take down the bitch herself, Augustine. But first, there are reports coming out of us taking down teams of dupeheads, even though we aren't anywhere near where it happened. We were just with Eugene. We couldn't have done this. So we go to check it out. And we learn that Smoke Man himself from the prologue, whose name is Hank, by the way, Hank Hinshaw, has somehow not only survived, but escaped the DUP. We gotta find him. We gotta be able to learn from the guys to escape. How can we get in? How can we murder this bitch? Well, anyway, we chase him down, and eventually he straight up knocks us out, but gives us his number. When we come to, we get a call from Hank himself, and we learn that Augustine is kidnapped, fetching Eugene, and they're out on some concrete island made by Augustine, and we have to go save him. We're going over to this island where, in this mission, at least at the start, we can only use smoke. There's a smokestack we absorb when we get into this island through a vent. And there are no other powers available to us. Nothing else we can absorb. So you and Hank, with your smoke powers, destroy a bunch of pillars and find a core relay, where the thing where you get more powers. And right as you get up to it, well, Augustine decides to make an appearance. One small hiccup with the plan, though. Hank is actually the secret second imposter. So after storming the castle, Augustine crafts some concrete, and right as shit's hitting the fan, our brother, the man himself, the motherfucking legend, Reggie Rowe, comes in with the fucking RPG and shoots Augustine dead. Okay. Obviously she's not dead yet, but it's stunned her enough to give us time to escape. And we get to Reggie, and we go to free Eugene and Fetch.
Don't flinch.
So as soon as we're there, Augustine recovers.
I knew we couldn't trust him.
Okay, you
And
were
the
right.
prison
If I
Fetch and Eugene
listened
are
to
in,
you,
which is
you
made
wouldn't have
entirely out of floating concrete
Well, as long as we are.
columns. And caves into itself into a giant concrete egg. And Augustine slams it down, destroying the ground we're standing on. When all this breaks the concrete, it allows Eugene and Fetch to escape. But it places Delson and Reggie on the ledge of the building, with Delson holding one hand on the ground, while the other is desperately clinging to Reggie's hand.
Delson, look at me. You gotta let me go. No, I can do this. Listen, we can't let this stuff get to you two. I'm so proud of you. No. Always have been. No. Lindsay, don't. I love you, bro.
Now this scene is just about a masterclass in everything Sucker Punch does. It is sadly very necessary to the story, even if it doesn't feel that way. At this point, especially if you're on an evil playthrough, you do some fucked up shit, like I said earlier with Fetch. Your body counts in the hundreds at this point of the game already, if not thousands. So how are we going to justify making Augustine look just as evil, if not more evil? Remind us why we're there. It was personal at the start, but it's been so long since Augustine has done something that it feels more like the story's about the conduits than Augustine at this point. And Augustine has to be the star of the show. She's the Karen. She's the queen bitch. She reminds Delsin why he's doing this. And gives the player more than enough reason to turn evil from this point forward. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the reason that many people switch to an evil run after this. It's just so well done that even if you're doing a full good playthrough and you want to do the same all throughout, you might just do evil at the end. You might change everything. How do I know that? Well, I did when I was a little kid. We'll get into that choice in a little bit. Because trust me, I have a lot to talk about. Now, our hatred for Augustine has doubled down. We literally see red as the start of this boss battle. Delsin screams out in agony after he saves himself. The only thing he's thinking about is killing this red-headed bitch. He took his brother away from him. And the fight with Augustine is brutal. After you knock her down from her flying concrete.
Oh, goodness. Goodness
shield,
me.
kind of.
Goodness me, Kevin.
You go and
Alright,
kick
the
her in the gut as
economy's
she's
getting there,
laying
Kevin.
down. Before finally laying on
You know
your
I'm
ultimate
an economic
move,
kind of
where
dude.
you summon
Yeah,
angels and
there you
demons
go.
down and destroy the very
I'm
island
in
you're
an
standing
economic
on.
kind of mood right now.
Okay, but how far are you in this game, man?
Not very.
He hasn't played it since the very first time he played it.
That's a lot. How both you and Augustine escape. After you get back, you know you got one ticket for Augustine. You only got one way to get through it. And that's through the man that just betrayed you.
Tell me where
Caused
Dotry
your
is!
brother to die. That's fine. So you hunt Hank down across the city. And you find him on a dock. Right as he's about to leave with his daughter. And here is your final karmic choice. Do you spare Hank and let him flee with his daughter? Or do you kill him for what happened to Reggie? This choice, right here, is the hardest choice in the game, at least in my opinion. Especially how soon it is after Reggie's death. If you don't stop from the moment Reggie dies, it will take you at the very most an hour to get to this choice. And like I said, it can make people even completely invested on a full hero run. Question if ruining the run is worth getting vengeance for Reggie. Now obviously this isn't the most morally gray choice, but with everything surrounding it, the choice legitimately feels justifiable at first, even though it's not. You're so distraught, you're grieving for this brother, who you've been through this whole game. Grief makes you think that it's justifiable. That it's Reggie's dead. What else? Why would you have to be good there? And that is how I believe they try and guilt you into accepting the railroading that is the final mission of this game. The final coffin that, looking back, made me realize that this morality system as a whole isn't anywhere as good as I thought it was at the beginning of this game. So, this game ends with the final Storm the Tower mission, with both Fetch and Eugene helping to get into the tower for a final boss. And the boss itself is cool as fuck. While the first half is the same as the previous one, you get the concrete power halfway through, and you have to survive against this giant concrete kaiju monster as Eugene brings you more core relays, so you can slowly get your full deck of concrete powers and take Augustine down with her own ability. But it is right after this final fight that the railroading is honestly painful, and you see the ending itself. So anyways, you actually have to start this mission choosing good or evil. You can out Augustine as the evil bitch she is, or kill her for what she did to Reggie. This could be another hard choice, asking you if giving up your morals is worth avenging your brother. But instead of an actual choice, the mission you get is based on if you have good or bad karma at the time of the mission. Normally, I don't mind that trope in games that much, where the last mission changes based on your morals at the time. That only really works when the final mission of your story is a culmination of all the choices you made throughout the game. For an example of a good version of this trope, let's look at Infamous 2. Its final mission is like this one, but it works, since the final mission end goal has stayed the same since the start of the game. And each choice you make throughout the game compounds into that specific mission being good or bad. The twist of the final mission isn't a new end goal like it is now, where you might kill Augustine instead of just taking her powers, but the twist was the characters who act as the moral standing grounds on each side, the good and the bad, where one always sides with good and one always sides with evil, switching because they think this was the best choice they had. So for part of that final boss, you have to defeat the person who has been by your side through most of these missions out of anyone else in Infamous 2. And that makes the ending hit hard regardless of if you couldn't choose this side. Because there isn't any justification for making the opposite choice. Unlike here with Augustine, where after she kills your brother, yes, it is still obviously the evil thing to do to kill her, you have given them reason to pick the evil option, even though they have been good this whole time. Now, the reason I believe the Hank choice tries to justify this railroading, it is the ultimate guilt trip. You just left a child out on the open water to die for revenge. The only way you can live with yourself after that is going full evil. I personally don't agree with that viewpoint, but I understand the sentiment of where it's trying to come from. But having that child there honestly hurts the final railroad more than help. Why do I say that? Well, having the variable of the kid to that equation of revenge after killing Hank seems unjustifiable to most. Even if you personally don't have the qualms for it, after Reggie's death, it's important to remember that you're doing this for Reggie. When you do this turning from good to evil with this choice, Reggie in no world would want to orphan a kid. So I believe for many people that would make them stay on the good path. Which is why I think it's good to have the kid there. But by taking away that final choice for this mission, you take away the chance for even heroic players to get revenge for Reggie. since there's at least a small demographic that kept Hank alive, since Augustine was the one who actually killed Reggie. Now, the boss was good as fuck. I can't lie, like I said earlier. And like you're seeing there, it's great, and honestly, after I played it, it made me forgive how this choice aggravated me. But now, I'm older, and more cynical on the media I consume, I just really like to nitpick. Anyway, this isn't to say that this ruins the game. Far from it. This game is honestly still in my top 5. I love it to death, even though I see the flaws of this game. Its gameplay is just so good. Honestly, in my opinion, it's still Sucker Punch's best, with Ghost being second. But if you can't truly critique something you love, I don't think you love it enough. Since you don't want to see it keep improving and getting better, which is why you would critique something in the first place. And with that being said, that's been my probably way too long spiel about one of my favorite games of all time. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, since next week we're talking about live service games and why they seem destined to fail.